Hi everybody, I just wanted to make a quick little video tutorial on how to use the Photoshop Elements version 9 side panels. We were in a class last week and we were over trying to use the side panels and manipulate them, and we ran into a few problems, and so I thought it might be kind of fun to make a little quick tutorial on how to actually do it. So the first thing is side panel is this area over on the right hand side of Photoshop Elements, and normally if this is the very first time that you've looked at the side panel, it'll look something like this, where you're going to see a couple tabs at the top that say Effects and Content, and then you'll see a tab at the bottom that says Layers. These different bins, they're called in the side panel, can all be turned off and on if you go to the window pull down menu. And you can see here on the window pull down menu that there are these different check marks next to the ones that are turned on. And if you want to turn one on, like if I want to come down and turn on undo history, for example, I just come down and I go click, and now you'll look over here and you'll see the undo history. Now, where we began to have some problems the other day was as we needed to use a panel, how do you actually display it, hide them, and move them around? The first thing is that if we go up here to the top, this one called Effects, we're going to go ahead and collapse it. To collapse a panel, you simply put your mouse on the tab for that panel and you double click, and you'll see that that collapses it. If I want to double click and collapse layers, I can do that too. So we go double click. I can even collapse undo history, double click. So right now, whoop, and there's adjustments. Let's double click and collapse that one. Okay, now they're all collapsed. To open a panel back up again once it's collapsed, all I have to do is click once on the tab. So if I click on Layers, that will open it up. If I click on Effects, that will open it up. Okay. Now the second thing is that when a panel is open, we can also size it. We can make it longer or shorter. Now the thing is, you can see here that this layers palette is pretty long, and if we open up here, for example, the undo history, now it gets really short. But let's just say that we want to have the undo history open at the same time that we have the layers open. Okay, but you can see that the layers is really small while the undo history is big here. Well, when you've got two panels next to each other, you're going to notice that there in the corner of the layers panel, in this case, there's a small little serrated corner that if I put my mouse onto it has a double-headed arrow. And you know, in Windows, whenever you see the double-headed arrow, it means that you can click and drag to size. So when two panels are next to each other open, you can size those panels to make them bigger or smaller. Now, if I close the history panel, double click and close it, notice that little serrated edge is gone. This layers palette is just going to fill up the whole thing if it can. In fact, right now it's the only panel that's open. Okay, if I open up undo history again, you're going to see that now we've got that little serrated edge. And in fact, if I open up adjustments, see if I can open up there. I've got three things open now. If I open up Effects, Layers, and Undo History, notice that those panels that are above each other, I can size. Okay, so the big thing is that we can open them, we can close them, and then we can size them by that corner panel there, that little corner serrated edge. Now, one thing I want to show you next is that if I go to a panel, and let's say I go to Layers, if I go to that tab, I can click and drag and literally float that entire panel. You're going to notice now that I've got the Layers palette floating as a window all by itself, and I can move it around on the screen by just dragging on the title bar here. Okay, now the thing we ran into last week in class was, okay, once I've got it over here, how do I get it docked back over here to the side? Okay, well, what I discovered was this, is that if we close all of the other panels, so if I close Effects by double clicking, if I close Undo History by double clicking, they're all closed now. Then if I go to my Layers palette and I come over and I slide it up, you see that blue line appear? As soon as that blue line appears, it's saying that basically it will be docked underneath adjustments if I let it go. So let me let go. There we go. Now it's docked again. Okay, and in fact, what you can do is you can click and drag these up and down to reposition them. And the easiest time to do that is when they're closed. And so that's my big takeaway tip here is when a layer is closed, when these are all closed is the easiest time to move them up and down and position them. Okay. Now, something else I should mention. If you get totally messed up over here, if you've got all kinds of things everywhere and you're totally messed up, you can always go to Window, slide down and click on Reset Panels, and that will reset them the way they originally were, with layers at the bottom open, effects, and content. Okay. Now, one final thing I want to mention to you here. For the classes that we teach and for the different tutorials that we have, there are a few panels that we use almost all the time, and there were some that we never use. And so my suggestion to you is this, is if you go up into Window, okay, I would basically turn off the effects panel, and actually you'll notice here when you turn it off in the window, it doesn't actually remove it here. So if you want to actually remove it from the side bin, there's a little tiny menu icon at the top corner of each panel. And if I click on it, you'll notice here that it says Close. If I click on Close, it's gone. Let me do the same thing with Content. Close it. It's gone. Now the only thing I have open is Layers. Let's go to Window, and in addition to Layers, I'm going to put the Undo History. Let me close Layers, so now you can see Undo History here. And one final one that I like to have over here is called Adjustments. Let's put Adjustments over here. Okay, so you can see now that I have Layers, Undo History, and Adjustments. Okay, we can arrange those any way we want them, but those are going to be our three primary bins that we have open over in the panel. Well, I hope that helps a little bit. This is kind of a quick tutorial I just wanted to throw together to kind of show you. But if you have any additional questions, you can always email me. My address is jlortz, J-L-O-R-T-Z, at discoverskills.com, and I'd be happy to answer them. And I'll probably be putting up some other tutorials, just little quick tips about Photoshop Elements over the next few weeks, especially as we go through our Photoshop Elements classes down at our Lincoln Computer Education Center. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.